Hey guys, Dark Angel here. I just wanted to get on here and say I hope that everybody had a great holiday weekend. Uh, but I also want to touch up on some things about right to travel and a couple other things that I want to give you guys as food for thought. Now, this is going to a lot of you guys, it's going to everybody who's doing what we do. And this is going to all those who despise what we do. So the thing is why do people always assume that traveling without a license is illegal? Sometimes it's not explained in the correct manner in which makes it legal or at least sound legal. Interestingly enough, even those that are in the know only know because of what they have read, but they never actually grasp the actual concept as to how it works. You hear that the right to travel is protected by the Constitution. Some even insist that it's written in the Constitution. Directly written? No, it's not. To answer that question, directly written, no, it's not in the Constitution. Okay, but indirectly written, yes, it is. It is written. Okay, and it has been set in stone in several, actually over 40, okay, United States Supreme Court cases. 12 of which I've weeded out to include in what I'm going to talk about today, or in this video, I should say, not today because it's actually night. But yeah. So what I'm telling you is something that I had already previously wrote down. So I wrote what I am actually reading from is actually what I wrote. Okay, so it's not somebody else's word. It's not someone's opinion. It's what I wrote. Okay, so like again, this is food for thought. So yeah, but yeah, I just want you guys to keep in mind, that, like I said, this is what you do with this information and this advice. That's completely up to you. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only. So, but I'm going to put a little side note on the side because I actually don't like using that disclaimer myself personally, especially if it's going to prohibit me from being able to speak the truth. And as y'all know, this channel, we speak the truth here. We don't sit there and do the bullshit. So yeah. The hell? I don't know if y'all can see that on my eye, but something's right there on my eye. It's white like a mug. But anyway, yeah. So to go on with what I was saying, so your right to travel is protected by. So what I meant to say is Supreme Court cases, and they have constantly stated in their writings that your right to travel is protected by that of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay? Written by the law of the land. Now, as you know, the Supreme Court is the law of the land. So, what I just said there, your right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, okay, the 5th and 14th amendments very clearly tells you that that's the indirect, or as we would say, the underlying facts, okay, of your right to travel that no one seems to understand. It's not directly written that you have a right to travel. It's indirectly put in there and underlying facts, okay, that they don't want you to see. But the Supreme Court actually set it in stone. See? And that's why, for all of you that don't understand and all of you who don't believe that this is a fact, you need to go back and look at the fact that we're winning these cases 100%. There's a reason for it, because those that are fully in the know that you don't go into that court and say, well, yes, Your Honor, it's written in the Constitution that I have the right to travel. No, Your Honor, my right to travel is protected by my right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Simple. Point blank and simple. And when you're going in front of those police officers and you're arguing your case, you have to understand something. So now I'm actually going to go off my little script that I wrote, and I'm just going to freelance it, because I think you'd better understand it that way. So when you get pulled over by the officers, you have to understand something. Road pirates don't actually sit down and read case law. Now, granted, they've all taken an oath to the Constitution, and here's why you get the strife about them saying, well, I've been out here 25 years, and I've never seen that in the Constitution. You're right, you never have. You never have seen it in the Constitution, but that's about as far as you took it. So you took the Constitution for face value. Because on its face, no, nowhere in the Constitution is it written that someone has the right to travel. Nowhere on its face. There's not one single amendment, not one single paragraph, not one single sentence, or anything in reference to right to travel. You have to understand that a right to travel is an inalienable, inherited, fundamental right. United States Supreme Court set that in stone for you. And as you know, not that they always do, but the Supreme Court, who passes laws to protect the police, have passed laws to protect you, us, the private citizen. So now if you're really wanting to get into the technicality of that, okay, the technicality of that is, it's kind of a what do you call it? It's a conflict of interest. See, you're making laws to protect them, but you're also making laws to protect the private citizen, which I'm going to get into that in another video when I go to do the reading on a case called Hain versus Hinkle. Okay, so when I get into that reading, I hope that you guys stay tuned and be looking out for that, because here's something that you really need to know, especially if you're in that of the private. That case addresses private, and you're going to love it. Trust me, you're going to love it. I love it. So moving forward, now I'm going to refer back to my notes to make sure that I covered what I thought I was. So, like I said, when the police pull you over and they're going to argue with you and tell you that you don't have the right to do this, you don't have the right to do that, we don't know nothing about the Constitution and all that. Basically, what they're telling you is I've read the Constitution frontwards, backwards, upside down, inside out, and I don't see that written in there nowhere. I'm going to give you a reason why they don't see it in there nowhere, because none of them actually sit down and read case law. Big difference there. None of them actually sit down to read case law. And you have to keep that in mind. You have to remember that, because they don't. They don't sit there and read case law. They go by what they read at face value, and that's what they operate on. Whatever they see under face value. They sit down, they see that this is what the Constitution says, and as soon as you bring up the Constitution, they feel justified in their argument by saying what's not actually written in the Constitution, so it's not on their face, so therefore you're violating our statutes and our codes. But what you got to do is, when you present your case to them on the side of the road, okay, you always have to remember that you need to cite cases that the Supreme Court has ruled on that actually mentions the right to travel is your fundamental right in that of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. See, now they'll tell you, well, yeah, you get a license, you have the right to drive. No, that's a privilege. Regardless, it's not a right; it's a privilege. So you win that argument right there, right off the top. Okay, but the point is, you're going to be arguing a case, that when it does actually go to court, you're going to win, because of the simple fact is your right to travel is a protected right by the courts too. So keep that in mind. So just to give you an idea, so in the case law, Pontius versus McLean, 113 California 452, right? This is one of the cases that has the phrase, the right to travel is protected in that of pursuit of right. The reason why I'm not reading that right now is because there's another issue that I'm going to address first that I feel is more prevalent to it, because the part I'm going to get to it. Okay, so just give me a second. Basically, what I'm going to do, what I'm telling you is this. Okay, so what I'm telling you is, for all you haters, traitors, and all you haters and constitutional traitors out there and tyrants, and all you police officers, this really goes to all you guys, and all you haters, that keep trying to throw the Hendricks versus Maryland case up, saying, well, that squashed all that. Okay, well, let's go back and do a real quick review of Hendricks versus Maryland. I've already done a video on this, and I've already proven to you dummies that Hendricks versus Maryland is not a case with authority. It never has been, it never will be. It was a case made, and it has some power to a degree in that of the commerce and commercial sense, which for some reason you idiots aren't getting it in your head. So I'm going to read to you from Title 18, Paragraph 1, Chapter 2, Paragraph 1, Chapter 2, definitions. As of 2023, this is what Title 18 says. For a motor vehicle, because I've seen so many people come up there and they have different versions of the motor vehicle. Title 18 is what every state follows, in case you didn't know. Okay, so Title 18 says the term motor vehicle means every description of carriage or other contrivance propelled or drawn by mechanical power and used for commercial purposes on the highways in the transportation of passengers and property or cargo. Highways are for the use of the traveling public, and all have the right to use them in a reasonable and proper manner. The use thereof is an inalienable right. That's mentioned in Title 18, what the cops are actually bound by. Okay, so of every citizen. You can also find that in the case called Escobedo versus the state, 35 C2D 870 at 8 Cal Jur 3D page 27. The use of the automobile as a necessary adjunct to the earning of a livelihood in modern life requires us, in the interest of realism, to conclude that the right to use an automobile on the public highways partakes of the liberty within the meaning of the constitutional guarantees. Now, the constitutional guarantees is life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. That's the constitutional guarantees, people. That's how you put those two together. Now, as you just heard me say, motor vehicle is commercial. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Title 18 confirms it. You don't need to go look up any other law. You don't need to go anywhere else and assume that, a motor vehicle is this and that. And officers, you need to take heed, because I'm getting ready to hit you with a real good one when you be talking about people calling them, didn't I just catch you operating this vehicle? Okay, so I'm getting ready to hit you with that one too. So, let me see. Berberian versus Lusser, 1958, 139A2D, 869, 872. The right of the citizen to drive on the public street with freedom from police interference. With freedom from police interference, unless he is engaged in suspicious conduct associated in some manner with criminality, is a fundamental constitutional right which must be protected by the courts. Next time you pull somebody over, officer, you might want to remember that case, because guess what? It is protected by the courts. Okay? So, People versus Horton. 14 Cal, appellant 3rd, 667, 1971. A U.S. citizen, upon leaving the District of Columbia. Now, this is in insertion to the District of Columbia, we all know as Washington, D.C. Okay, District of Columbia. So, street with the freedom from police. Wrong one, sorry. Columbia becomes involved in what? Interstate commerce, as a resident does not have the common law right to travel of a citizen of one several states. Meaning that if you're traveling in commerce, okay, you don't have a right to travel. You see what I'm saying? If you decide to go travel in commerce, if you're traveling in commerce, even though you have that right, you gave up that right, you forfeited that right to travel in commerce. So therefore, you're not afforded the same right as someone like me who does not travel in commerce, but I decide to exercise my right to travel. Big difference. So, but what I'm getting at is this. I'm getting to all you haters, so-called little power case that you want to talk about, Hendrick versus Maryland. So here's the part of the case that it's, for some reason, every single one of you morons leave out of the case. So I'm going to bring it to light for you. Hendrick versus Maryland, SC Reporters RD 610 through 625, 1914. One who drives a automobile is an operator within the meaning of the Motor Vehicle Act. Whoopsie. That's cited in your case that you guys love so much. But what did I just tell you motor vehicle means up there in Title 18? And that's law. You can't dispute that. So you take motor vehicle from Hendricks versus Maryland, set it beside that Title 18. Let's see, Title 18, Part 1, Chapter 2, 31 definitions at 6. And compare that motor vehicle with that motor vehicle. Guess what? They're one and the same, dumbasses. Motor vehicle, you don't get around it. It's commercial. Period. So that's what I was trying to express to you guys. That's why the courts can't, and never will use that case against us, because it's commercially related. It's commerce related. It always has been. Everything in anything before the 19th century, before the 20th century came into effect, was in relation to commerce. And that's what you dummies ain't understanding. Everything in relation to today is still in commerce, if you want to get technical. So it hasn't really changed. However, so there's that. And if you notice what I said, it says an automobile is an operator within the meaning of the Motor Vehicle Code. So Let's defy the word operator. In Pontius McLean, 113, California, 425, the word operator shall not include any person who solely transports his own property and who transports no persons or property for hire or compensation. Statutes at large in California and all states, Chapter 412, page 833, the right of a citizen to travel upon the public highways and to transport his property thereon by horse-drawn carriage, wagon, or automobile is not a mere privilege which may be permitted or prohibited at will, but a common right which he has made under his right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Now, as I was telling you, so as you know, the cops, they're going to argue you down whenever you argue the point that, oh, the right to travel is in the Constitution. No, it's not. Don't make that mistake, because that's how they catch you. That's a catch-20 saying that you just said. The right to travel is protected by the Constitution under that of your right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Liberty. Definition of liberty, freedom. So, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and show you. These are all the supporting cases that actually say this. Okay? So you have Slusher versus Safety Coach Transit Company, 229 Kentucky, 731, 17 Southwest 2D, 1012, and affirmed by the Supreme Court in Thompson versus Smith, 154 Southeast 579. So see, what was mentioned in that case there, that Pontius versus McLean case, is actually case law. Because now you have two other cases, and Thompson versus Smith is actually one of the good cases. The Supreme Court has confirmed it. They affirmed it, actually. It says right here that it is and affirmed by the Supreme Court in Thompson versus Smith, but they also give you 8 additional cases that you can find the exact same ruling. So those cases would be Edwards versus California, 314 U.S. 160, Twining versus New Jersey, 211 U.S. 78, Williams versus Fears, 179 U.S. 270 at 274, Crandall versus Nevada, 6 Wall 35 at 43 and 44. The passenger cases, 7 Howard, 287 at 492. U.S. versus Guest, 383 U.S. 745 at 757, 758, 1966. Griffin versus Breckenridge, 403 U.S. 88 at 105 through 106, 1971. Califano versus Torres, 435 U.S. 1 at 4, note 6. Shapiro versus Thompson, 394 U.S. 618, 1969. And Califano versus Asnavarian, 439 U.S. 170 at 176, 1978. Now, those cases right there are the supporting cases, the supporting factors of what I've been telling you guys today. Basically, when you argue your case to the officers and you give them your paperwork and things like this, and they come back and they say, well, that's just a bunch of mumble jumble, that's what they're going to say, because that's what they know. They know that if they actually haven't read it on the Constitution's face, that a right to travel is actually on its face, of course they're going to argue with you and write you a citation, and because to their knowledge, because they haven't done extensive or backup research in case law, those cases that I just cited you right there are the actual cases that get around their argument. It secures your argument, gets around their argument, and makes them ignorant in knowledge of the law. And as we all know, ignorance of the law is no excuse in the court of law. So keep that in mind, people. You know, like I said, this is just something, this is food for thought for you guys, because I've noticed, I've been reading, I must have read hundreds of people's travel documents. And I'm looking at them and I'm going, wow. You know, and then the person tells me, yeah, I presented this to the officers and I got pulled over and I still ended up with a ticket. Yep, you probably would, because of the way it's written. Because you're sitting there constantly trying to convince them that the right to travel is written in the Constitution. No, it's not written in the Constitution, people. Nowhere on the Constitution's face is the right to travel written in it. Okay? You need to know and understand that that is an indirect writing, an underlying fact. And the Supreme Court made it factual by their many, many rulings, okay, that secured its place in the Constitution under your right to life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. If you're not arguing your right to travel under those three means, life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, you're not going to win. Because I've actually seen a court case where the judge actually was saying, well, yeah, if you get a license, you have the right to drive. You have the right to do this. You have the right to do that. No, you don't. And you have to counter that and show them a license is a privilege. Now, that individual that lost that case, he didn't argue that. And that's why he lost. Because he didn't counter, he didn't object to the judge's statement of the right to travel. You know, he didn't argue it. So, and because of his failure to argue that, when the judge made the comment, yeah, you do have the right to drive as long as you have a license. No, I don't. I have a license that's still a privilege, because a license is a privilege. It's a permission. The right to travel was given to me by God, the Creator. There's that. Man can't take what God gave you. Man can't even do any kind of judgment as far as what God gave you. You know, so there's that. So in the event that you didn't know that, now you do. And, you know, this is Dark Angel. Hey, it's late at night. I just wanted to hit you with that little bit of food for thought, you know. And maybe this video ain't like the rest of my videos, but you know, hey, what? It's information, and I'm putting it out there. You know, like I said, I'm going to speak the truth, always speak the truth, tell you the truth, and nothing but the truth. So, with that being said, when you go out there, people, just keep in mind, in your right of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, you're guaranteed. Now, and what I also meant to tell you is this. So, if the cops tell you that no, this, that, and the other, well, here's the thing. By their issuing you a citation, etc., okay, what have I been telling you in past videos? That no state, when it's a police authority, has ever been given or under the police power, has ever been given authority to take a right, turn it into a crime, or a right and turn it into a privilege. Now you see your defense to the whole thing. That's the bottom line of it. That's the defense to everything right there. And that's just briefly putting it, you know. So anyway, you know, yeah, if you like it, like the video, you know, and you know, like I said, if you subscribe, you do. If you don't, you don't. I don't care one way or the other. It's about getting the information out there. So with that being said, this is Dark Angel. I'm out of here. Deuces.